Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Thank you very much for joining me in this video, and today we are going to be taking a look at the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, or Element number 6. That's going to be explained in a moment. So this car is a concept car or a special edition car, of which I think 20 of them were made in 2011. There may have been some more made in 2013. I'm really not too sure, but I know 20 of them were made in 2011, and this looks like the concept version of it with the red and grey, although maybe all of them were like that, given that this car is loaded with carbon fibre, and that's why it's called the Sesto Elemento. Element number 6 in the periodic table is carbon. So this car heavily relies on carbon fibre to give it some of the performance and some of the driving characteristics that it has. But before we go on to that sort of stuff, let's go on to the engine. We'll talk about the engine. It is a V10 engine, 5.2 litres, mid-engine, so it's behind the driver, as you would expect from one of these cars. Like I said, 5.2 litres, not carbon fibre, aluminium block and head. 4 valves per cylinder, dual overhead cam, direct injection, naturally aspirated, no turbochargers on this, and because it's this car is, or Lamborghini is, a sister company to Audi. This is an FSI engine, so that's fuel stratified injection. Produced 570 brake horsepower at 8,000 RPM and 540 Newton meters of torque, or about 398 foot-pounds of torque at 6,500 RPM. Revs up all the way to about 8,500 RPM, I think, is where it revs up to, or just about there. I don't really rev it out all the way. I think I get it to about 8,000, and I shift because that's just where it felt. It was really nice. That engine is bolted to a 6-speed semi-automatic gearbox, paddle shifters, of course, and reverse, and that puts all the power down to a all-wheel drive, or an all-wheel drive system. Now that for me wasn't the best thing, but I'm going to explain why in a few moments. Now this car, the chassis is carbon fibre, the body of it is carbon fibre, a lot of the components in the suspension are carbon fibre, the seats themselves, some of the paneling for the seats and the actual shape of the seat and the supports for the seat are carbon fibre. This car revolves around carbon fibre, and because of all of that, it has a weight of 999 kilograms. Yeah, 999, not even a ton, or if you want that in pounds, that's 2,200 pounds, give or take a small bag of sugar. That's pretty impressive. That really is impressive. I mean, that's not too far off a Mazda MX-5, isn't it? I thought a Mazda MX-5 is just below a ton. Is it 975 kilos or something like that? But this car has 570 horsepower, whilst the Mazda has about 160 bhp. So that's something pretty special on this car, and that is one of the things that gives it the driving characteristics that it has, and the power and the feeling and the sensation that this car has. Moving on from the specs, because I think that's all the specs covered, we can go on to what it's like in Assetto Corsa. So in Assetto Corsa, we obviously look at the modelling, the texturing, the sounds and the physics in that order. We'll start with the modelling and texturing. Well, since it's a Kunos car, we don't really have as I slide. I'll talk about a little bit about that, although that was a genuine mistake from me, but I'll talk a little bit about the driving in a bit. The car, because it's a Kunos design car, it never has any problems modelling. I think they've always done fantastic jobs on modelling a vehicle. Sometimes the texturing hasn't been all that though. So for this car, I had a look around and it seems to be absolutely fine. So I'm really happy to report that, both inside and out. I mean, inside it's got that weird, like, I think when I was looking at the Huracan Performante a couple of weeks ago, the vents had that sort of, if you look on the dashboard, that material, it looks like, I know it's not, but it looks like some sort of black granite sort of thing. I have no idea exactly what it is, but the style of it looks like black granite or some sort of something like that, black marble maybe, and I really don't like it. I didn't like it on the Performante, I don't like it on this, but it is accurate to what the actual car is. I love the amount of red detailing in here. Everything looks grey and carbon-like. Even the steering wheel, you can see the carbon fibre on that, but then there are dashes of grey around. You'll see that the seats are grey, some of the buttons are grey, the paddle shifters are grey, obviously the suede on the steering wheel is grey, and the display is, sorry, not grey, I'm saying grey all this time, I'm talking about red. The seats are red, the paddle shifters are red, the suede on the steering wheel is red, and the display is red, whilst everything else is grey. And of course your driver's gloves are red as well, but that's something you can change if you so wish to do so. It's not part of the car. So I really like how they've textured everything. It looks really good inside and out, and you can see the carbon fibre everywhere, so that's really, really good. Sounds wise, it feels like it sounds a lot like the not the Huracan, the Gallardo. Now I know this car is based off the Gallardo. If you look at this car, you can tell it is based off a Gallardo, and it does have the same engine from the Gallardo. But I said, I think when I reviewed the Gallardo many months ago, I did say that I didn't feel that the Gallardo sounds were all up to scratch. It sounded decent or even good, but it wasn't all up to scratch. It wasn't perfect, and it certainly wasn't like some of the sounds that we get now. Some of the sounds that we have now are just almost completely real in quality, and I think this one is taken pretty much out of that from the inside anyway. From the outside it sounds a little bit, maybe it's a placebo effect, but it sounds a little bit more guttural, it sounds a little bit more raw, and I do like that, because obviously this car has those 6 hexagonal exhausts above the bonnet. It's not like a normal Gallardo's exhaust pipe, so it does have 6 of them, so it does sound a little bit different there. So yeah, the sounds are just a little bit disappointing. But going on to the final part, which is the physics, and that's what everyone really likes to see. This car I'm driving on road tires and no traction control, and it's very, very alive. You have to be very tentative with this car. I am being very tentative, even though it is my first time driving, but I still think if I drove this car 100 times, I would still be a little tentative on the power and on the brakes. The brakes I found were not absolutely brilliant. You really had to stamp on them. You really have to stamp on the brakes to get them to work. They really weren't as effective as I thought they would be. But the driving itself, the car is really, really fun. But you are going to see an understeer moment where I scrape the left side of the car soon, after bouncing on a curb. So once I bounce on the curb, I realized that this car does not like curbs at all. It really doesn't like curbs. It's for something like the Nordschleife, it's really, really bad if you hit the curb. It's just way stiffly sprung, and it just pushes you out with the understeer from the 4-wheel drive system as well. So yeah, curbs are a no-no in this car. Avoid them as much as you can. You don't want to hit them, and if you do hit them, you really need to respond really quickly, which I don't in a couple of seconds, or well, maybe 20 seconds. But overall, the car is really nice to drive. The oversteer that you get as you hit the brakes and turn into a corner is pretty nice. I like the power that you can put down on it, and obviously with Hypercar, is it not Trophy? Is it Hypercar Trophy? No, that's the road tires. With the actual slick tires that you get, or the semi-slicks that you get on this, so you get 2 tire options. Here comes the little crash. Those 2 tire options with the more grippier of the 2 tires and traction control on, this car is absolutely unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. It's so powerful, but really, to get a good feel for the car, you want to be on these road tires and without traction control. Then you can start feeling how alive this car is, how much power this car can produce, and just how interesting this car is to drive. Because with the traction control on and with the other tires, it's not as engaging to drive as it is at this point in time. But that's where I'm going to end. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa. Leave a comment in the comments box below letting me know what you think of this car, and if you enjoyed the video, obviously. If you're watching this on Twitch, you can give it a thumbs up and a like. Thumbs up now and a like, that's the same thing. Thumbs up and a follow, please. And last but not least, do support me on Patreon. Link to that is in the description box below. Your support would be massively appreciated, and will help me out a huge amount. And of course, whatever amount you give, you will get access to my Discord server, where you can chat to me all day, or other people in a nice growing community. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you guys next time in Assetto Corsa. And you can finally see the red seats, not grey, red.